Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a huge idea, the modern country. What we often call the state. And let me tell you what a state even is. Well, that idea has been totally flipped upside down.
So let's just jump right in with the question, one that really gets to the core of everything that's changing in our world. What if countries just aren't what they used to be? It sounds simple, right? But believe me, the answers are anything but.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, the original blueprint for a state. Then, how the world kind of crashed the party. We'll look at the big remodel, the 5 new personalities of the modern state, and wrap up with the huge challenges they're facing right now. Let's do it.
Okay, let's get started. Section 1, the original blueprint. To really get a handle on where we are today, we've got to go back and understand the classic idea of what a nation was even supposed to be.
So, the traditional idea of a state, think of it like a fortress. Seriously. It was this sovereign political thing that had supreme, absolute authority over its own territory. It was totally self-contained, completely in charge, the ultimate boss within its own walls. Nothing got in, nothing got out, unless the state said so.
And this really breaks down that whole fortress idea for us. Look at the key features. You had supreme sovereign power. Nobody tells you what to do. You had your own independent national economy. Power was strong and centralized. And what was its job? Super simple. Keep law and order and defend the borders. That was pretty much the whole gig.
But a fortress like that, it can't stay isolated forever, right? The world outside starts to change, and powerful new forces began to shake those foundations to their core. Which brings us right to our second section. The world intervenes.
So, when we hit the 20th and 21st centuries, the world didn't just, politely knock on the state's door. It was more like it took a battering ram to it. It basically blew the door off its hinges. All of a sudden, you have these huge, interconnected shifts that started to challenge that idea of absolute power.
First on the list, globalization. This is a big one. You've got global trade, international organizations, and these giant multinational corporations popping up everywhere. Suddenly, no country's economy was its own little island anymore. A decision made in one part of the world could create a massive ripple effect, a tidal wave on the other side of the planet.
And then, boom, the tech revolution. We're talking the internet, social media, instant communication, all of it. It just completely erased the borders for information and ideas. That government fortress, well, its ability to control what its people were thinking, to control the narrative inside its walls, was suddenly getting a lot weaker.
But here's the thing, the pressure wasn't just coming from the outside. Inside the fortress walls, people's expectations were changing too. New demands were bubbling up. People started wanting more from their governments than just, law and order. The state's focus had to shift. It couldn't just be a police state anymore. It had to become a welfare state, something responsible for things like education, healthcare, its citizens' actual well-being.
And to top it all off, a whole new kind of problem started showing up. We're talking about global challenges. Things like climate change, huge financial crises, and of course, pandemics. These things don't care about your borders. They just sweep right across them. And they proved once and for all that no single nation, I don't care how powerful it is, could ever hope to solve these things alone.
So, with all of this going on, globalization, tech, new demands, global problems, that old fortress model just wasn't going to cut it anymore. It had to change. Which leads us to Section 3, the state, the remodel. We're going to see how that old fortress got completely redesigned for the modern world.
Wow, okay, this comparison really lays it all out. It's the whole story in one shot. Look at the then column. Sovereign, independent, centralized power, all about law and order and a national economy. Now look at now. Interdependent, limited, decentralized, focused on welfare and rights, all happening in a globalized economy. It is a completely different world, a total paradigm shift, no question.
Okay, so what does this new, remodeled, plugged-in state actually look like day to day? Well, it's not just one thing. It kind of has a few different personalities or faces it can show, depending on what's going on. And that's what we're going to dig into in Section 4, the 5 new faces.
Yeah, so the modern state is a real chameleon. It plays a bunch of different roles. Sometimes it's the helper. Think of the big welfare states in Scandinavia. Other times it's the builder, like how South Korea actively pushed its economic growth. It can also be the umpire, just setting the rules for the market, or a teammate, working with other countries. And now it's even becoming a coder, delivering everything digitally. The truth is, most countries today are a mix of all 5.
But here's the catch. This new, complex, interconnected world, it's not all sunshine and roses. It's definitely not a utopia. It comes with a whole new set of massive problems. And that brings us to our final section, today's great challenges.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The same things that forced the state to change also created a whole bunch of new weaknesses. You can see the cracks in the new walls right here. Sovereignty is getting worn away. Inequality is on the rise. We've got massive cyber threats and data security issues. We're seeing democratic backsliding in some places, and a huge surge in cultural conflicts and populism. Oh, and all of this is happening while we're trying to deal with a planetary environmental crisis. So yeah, no small problems.
So, to put a bow on all of this table really sums up the massive journey we've just looked at. We went from a state that was sovereign and independent, basically a lone wolf, to one that's interdependent and cooperative, a team player. Its job changed from just law and order to welfare and development. And power itself, it's gone from being held in one central spot to being spread out and decentralized. And all of this leaves us with one last big, provocative thought to chew on. In a world where our biggest, scariest problems, from pandemics to climate change, are completely global, is the very idea of a lone, self-sufficient nation-state just a thing of the past? Is it an idea that's had its day? Something to think about.